Hey there, it's me, Robert Kikuchi-Yngojo of Eth-Noh-Tec, and this is Storytelling with Eth-Noh-Tec. And Eth-Noh-Tec, for those of you who don't know, usually it's two people, Nancy Wong and myself, but Nancy's over there in San Francisco, and I'm over here, there, in Portland, Oregon, on the road. And I've been on the road now for a day and a half, and heading up northbound for our summer creative retreat. So I thought I'd do this week's Storytelling with Eth-Noh-Tec online. It's pre-recorded, but you'll still have some fun with this and just getting a peek as to what we've been doing in this busy month of May, Asian Heritage Month. So I thought I'd share some pictures and do a recap and thank all of you who came to the live shows or visited on streaming, but just in case you haven't, I'll do kind of review of what's been going on and some insight of what's coming up. So, yes, Asian Heritage Month is usually we get booked through many community organizations, and we produce the events too. And this one, this month, the biggies were the Strong Like Bamboo events we did at the Oakland Asian Cultural Center and at the Noah Theater space in San Francisco. So all of it is about building community. So let's start first with taking a look at some of the things we did there. Of course, we asked many of our storytelling colleagues to be a part of this, at least those that lived in the Bay Area. You know, we've been organizing Asian American storytellers for the last 3 years during the pandemic, and we formed a group, Asian American Storytellers in Action. And we had some of them as guest artists in our Strong Like Bamboo event. And maybe you can see the picture there. The ones that are standing on the stage left are myself and Nancy, as well as a community organizer. I can't remember which organization. He may have been with the Asian, with the Korean community group there. Or We Are One community group that's speaking out against some of the rise in Asian hate and crime against our communities. And then you'll see the other storytellers there. We've got Russell Jung. He's the founder of Stop AAPI Hate. He is a professor at Asian American Studies at San Francisco State University. And then we have Linda Yamamoto, longstanding colleague of ours in the local Bay Area storytelling community. She actually one of the co-producers of the Bay Area Storytelling Festival that ran for years and years. Went to sleep for a little bit of a time and now is waking up again, but this time taking place in Sonoma County. Next to her right side is MJ Kang. She's a performance artist, solo, what would we call it, spoken word narrative. And she, from her experiences as a Korean American living in Southern California. On her right is Alton Takayama-chan, who is a long-standing colleague, an apprentice, studied with us for several years, and now has launched his career in the art of storytelling and is doing quite wonderfully, performing everywhere. One of his specialties is Asian American stories of veterans and communities of people in the Pacific Rim area, Asian Pacific, particularly the Japanese Americans in Hawaii, and Korean Americans in Hawaii. And he's also well versed in many of the folktales and myths from the Asian region. Next to him on his right, also a longstanding colleague from the Bay Area. Did you ever remember, maybe you haven't seen it, but there was what was he in? He worked for one of the local television stations and is a total media mogul, has his own podcast, Emil Amok. Check it out on the web. He broadcasts every week for years now, and he's also a performance artist in the spoken words genre of storytelling. And then to his right, a lovely spectrum of ladies there in the colorful costumes there. Those are the Grant Avenue Follies. And in case some of you didn't catch the show, they did a rap. That's right. Asian American elders doing rap. So they did a whole theme on the rise in Asian hate crimes that our communities have been affected with. So, it was quite a lineup there. And of course, Nancy Wong was the host of that event. She organized the event, wrote the grants for it. help organize all the production of it taking place both at the Oakland site and in San Francisco. And Linda Yamamoto, of course, took to the stage wonderful stories from the Japanese American experience. There's me, messy hair, oh well. I also performed a song, not an original song, but a song written by Chris Ijima of the famed kikuchi-yngojo phenomenon of the early days of the Asian American cultural movement. The song basically addresses and contributes the contributions and the legacy of Asian Americans. And of course, a lot of it was documented with our camera crew and videos running, all the tech hooking it with streaming and photography and all of that. Shout out to Mark Shiganaga. He really captures so much of this work in the community throughout the Asian American scene here. And thank you, Brother Alan. He's there on Mark's left side. And of course we have, Don Gwen. You'll see more about him later. Time to relax. And so we did. And Linda Yamamoto, she has always been so generous, and we really want to thank her and her sister Eileen for creating a beautiful buffet of food, as you can see right there. Buffet, all kinds of Asian delicacies. And so us performers got to chill out, talk story with each other. Yes, at Linda's home there is always plenty of delicious food and desserts, and it's always great to have it at our place because we can sit around and talk with each other, really to get to know some of the other performers on a personal level. So let's see what else we have here. I gotta let you know that Les Katsura, he has been, what do I call him? He's been our guardian angel, our handyman, our lift up the power drill and lift that bale and hammer that sign down, running lines, cables, and setting up cameras. Les has been great. He's even helped us produce some of the festivals we did up on Orcas Island. So, yes, in fact, we have a nickname for him. We call him Less is More because he does so much more than any one person could possibly do. So it's always great to have him on the team. Now here, and also Bowen Lee is actually a descendant from the original Chinese fishing villages back in the 1850s. Bowen has become a wonderful storyteller in the Monterey Salinas area, doing a lot of work with the Pacific Grove Museum, and telling not only the stories of Chinese Americans in the fishing village, but also works a lot with the biology and the marine life and the activities and how the Chinese worked with the Stanford Hopkins Marine Lab out there. And of course, no show would be complete without Don Gwen sitting out there in the middle, standing up next to me on my right side. Don goes way, way back. In fact, he was my dentist. And he also was a band member in a band called the Nobodies. We were kind of early era world beat jazz, rock and roll, jazz fusion band using Asian instruments and some original lyrics written by myself and Michael Sasaki. And so Don's been a loyal fan. He's a techno wizard, so he knows a lot about how to run the wires and the software and all of that. So it was fantastic to have him around. And of course, there's Sarah Lau. She is also an angel. She's got a mind that can figure out all the things, the moving parts, the bells and whistles of running any of our Eth-Noh-Tec events. And she's also a board member, and really grateful for her participation in all of that. New to our scene, actually the last few years, is Craig Manrique. And so there he is with Tommy Lee of the Oakland Asian Cultural Center. Both Craig and Tommy have helped us for this Oakland production. And Craig, he is also a techno wizard. So if there are any of you artists out there that are right-brain creative dominant, make sure that you have people like Craig and Don and of course Tommy there to help you with all those ones and zeros, those digital things that can go awry, which they do. And so it's great to have Craig help us with everything from helping us redesign our website and keep us in the loop with that. Well, after doing the Oakland event at the Cultural Center, we then reproduced the same event a week later at the No Theater space of Theater Yugen. It's in our neighborhood, so it was very convenient to move down there. We didn't need too much of a crew to set up. But it was a smaller audience size because the place only holds about 99 people. And we filled it quite successfully with about 30 or 40 people there, because we were able to get under the production wing of the San Francisco International Arts Festival, thanks to Andrew Wood, who has featured us in many years of the festival. And so we were able to have some publicity. I think he helped us really bring that crowd in. So we did our stories. The stories, of course, for Nancy, she did excerpts from her Bittersweet, stories of growing up Asian American, Chinese American in New Orleans. That's right. Nancy Wong is a New Orleans girl. And she was one of the few Chinese American families that were there during that time. And so she talked about growing up not only with Tommy Lou and skipping down the streets during Mardi Gras, but also later on as she grew up, what it was like on the ski lift up in Tahoe and having racist comments hurled at her from the ski lift. Other colleagues we love to acknowledge is Eleanor Glass Clement, half Filipino, half African American, a wonderful docent storyteller at the Asian Art Museum, along with Linda Yamoto. So the three of them, Rupa, Eleanor, and Linda, they are specialists in storytelling, folktales, and myths related to the Asian Art Museum exhibit. So it might be a jade statue or porcelain vase with images on it. Those images, whether it be an image of a rabbit or a tiger or Kuan Yin, the goddess of compassion, they have plenty of stories to really enliven the exhibit with the art of spoken word. So Eleanor was part of our scene. She grew up all over the place. She was an Army brat, and so she shared a story about being in Kansas and having to be in that line, the great divide between black and white, and she's half black and yellow. So there was some incidents that happened there in Kansas City. So it's great to have so much variety in our presentations. Those of you who have been following Eth-Non-Tec know that Red Altar is one of our significant theater pieces that we do. For those of you who don't know about the Red Altar story, it's basically a story that starts in the 1850s when 6 teenagers from China were shipwrecked off the coast of Monterey. And because they came from Chinese fishing villages back home, they started the fishing industry that Monterey is so well known for these days. Well, the descendants of that original 6 teenagers is none other than Nancy Wong. And she wrote the story, she wrote the play, and there's many times now we've been performing this thing, and even though there was the pandemic, things are opening up again. And luckily, I think it was in 2019, we went to Hawaii and filmed it all. And thanks to Jeff Gear, a storyteller there, and Olelu, the Samoan Samoan Community Access Television, were able to record this, and we set it into a DVD. So even though there was a pandemic, we were able to send it via the cloud and also share the film in more recent times. One of the performances we did on film was actually in Monterey, and it was great to have the Red Altar story on film presented part of the Walk of Remembrance sponsored by the Quoc Mui Foundation. And not only we did the film showing, but we also had a dialogue with the audience. Many people, many descendants from that original Chinese fishing village were there, and so it was great to bring the story to the family through the film, and to get support from this wonderful community organization. We also presented it a week later in Davis, California, and with Davis, of course, that's near and dear to my heart because back in the day, back in the early 70s, that's where I went to school and took my first Asian American Studies class. That changed my mind, and so when I didn't get into medical school, I followed my path with Asian American culture, bringing the awareness of the Asian American cultural and political, social legacy onto the stages through storytelling and music, and it's changed my life. And hopefully through touring, we've really inspired the hearts of many people throughout the United States when we tour. So what was great about that too, and I'll show you some pictures of that, was to have community support come out, really help us with the film showing. People came out to help sign people in, people from the local Sacramento community, from organizations, and the audience, of course, got to watch the film, and afterwards we had dialogue with them. We were introduced to this community through my college friend Alex, not shown here, that's Gloria, but Alexander was a former Asian American Studies colleague of mine, along with Shelton Yip, who is also not shown in this picture. But this woman, Gloria Partida, is part of the Davis Phoenix Coalition, and they do a lot of work to raise awareness to the anti-POC LGBTQIA community there in the Davis community. There's been a lot of hate crimes against people who are, people who are in the broader sense of the spectrum. And so raising awareness to the community. So she thought the story was good enough to bring to her community, and with the help of Alexandra, we got it shown there. Afterwards, of course, community dialogue. There's Nancy speaking to the crowd, answering questions. A lot of people are totally unaware of the Chinese American contribution in the fishing industry there. Very familiar are people of the Chinese who built the railroads. That's very well known. But of course, the Chinese fishing villages were very important during that time. Because it established a very successful commerce, and actually some of their fish made its way to the railroad workers there in the Sierra Mountains and beyond. Let's see what else too. When we have these events, it's just great to see people show up, and new faces, organizers and activists from the local area. So it was great to share our work and reach people through the heart, through the art, and also to connect with families and friends. I want to tell you a little bit about the Chinatown Red Altar reading, and that took place also this month, and it took place at Clara Shu's studio, a theater, a small presenting space. It's called the Clarion Performing Arts Center. Used to be a Chinese instrument shop, and I used to go there all the time. That's where I got a lot of my bamboo flutes. But in recent years, Clara has converted it to a place for presentation, music, and performance art, and poetry readings and so people come down there in Chinatown and hear a wide variety of artists, not just Chinese American artists, but multiculti. So Nancy did a reading from her book. Yes, Red Altar is becoming a novel, historical fiction. She's been working on this now for several years. And of course, we moved from the play to the film and now to the novel, and we're right at the point of getting it launched and published finally. We need to get some clearance from archival photographs. So So that took a long time hunting out. Like, who took this picture? Who has ownership, copyrights, royalties, all that stuff. So 7 years in the making. It's been a slow bake, but finally Red Altar will be a book in the hand. So keep an eye out for our announcements about that. So the Chinatown reading, though it was small, we were able to stream it and get that out there. We did a recording of that, and we'll be maybe during the summer we'll relaunch that one online. So keep yours out for that as well. So, yep, Sacramento, Davis, Monterey, Chinatown, and of course, after all that was said and done, finally, we get some time off. Whew! It always takes a long time after a big wave of gigs. It's like we sit there stunned. Who am I? Now what? Time to do laundry. Time to go through the piles of junk mail. So it's also time to have some fun. Our day off includes going out to the San Mateo County Fair. That's right, Ferris wheels. And did we eat those corn dogs? No, we didn't, but we probably had some kind of barbecue. And of course, with the day off, it's going out there with my daughter Shani. I call her Mama Shani because she has a baby boy, 1.5 years now, Shuji. And so that's him in the yellow pants there. And so we're taking him out there, and he gets his pony ride, of course. Our day off at the fair. Yeah. Grandma Nancy paying pointy fingers with that yellow boy. He is just an amazing, amazing child. Every time I see him, I am in awe. I am in an ecstasy just watching this human being who is discovering everything, colors, shapes, people's faces. He's just starting to say words. His famous phrase I love to say is, "Oh no!" So it could be when he drops something, "Oh no!" When he finds something, "Oh no!" When he wants to reach for something that he can't get, "Oh no!" That's his famous phrases. He knows animal sounds too, so he can do the dog. What does the dog say? Oh, oh. What does the cat say? Meow. Yeah. Oh, he loves this one because he is born in the year of 4,721. No, 20. That's the year of the tiger. Hey, Shuji, what does the tiger do? And he actually pulls that little hand up. Oh, my goodness. So, also in this time off, we're able to have some fun with friends. Rosalie, Alfonso, and Kaala Carmack. Kaala was one of the directors for Phil Gotanda's play called The Avocado Kid. I don't know if any of you saw that, but it was a fusion of Momotaro, the Peach Boy folktale story of Japan, fused with this wacky, wild fantasy thing that takes place in America. So rather than the Peach Boy, he becomes the superhero born out of an avocado, hence the title. So Kaala is also not only directed plays and musicals, but also he is a wonderful researcher of traditional Hawaiian music, specifically the music of Charles E. King and all of his compositions. And then his wife, Rosalie, they've been married how many years now? Probably at least 45 years. So 45, no, maybe 40 years, like us. Rosalie, she's the best. When I returned from the Philippines in 1981, that's right, a 6-month tour, a 6-month adventure, young guy in his late 20s with a backpack going into the jungles of Mindanao amidst the gunfire and the napalm bombing of the Marcos dictatorship. I made it to Marawi City in Mindanao and studied kulintang gong music, the the director of the Aga Khan Museum, Mahmoud Maginda Nasser. What are you doing here? Don't you know, didn't the State Department tell you it's dangerous? And what is a young 27-year-old? But I want to study the gong music. Well, I did, and came back to America to start Kulintang gong music in Northern California, and Rosalie was one of my first students. Bless her heart. That smile of hers, that twinkle eye, she's just a great lady. And though we don't see much of Rosalie and Kala, I'm ever grateful for their part of our creative life. And then also, going way back, there is Serena Chen. Actually, he has a different last name, but Serena goes way, way back. I don't know if any of you saw this. If you're in the San Francisco Bay Area and part of the Asian American community, do you remember a show called Asians Now? Well, Serena was the host, and she would have guest people come on stage. Nancy was one of her guests with her therapy work and social work with Asian American for self-integration and assertiveness training. So she was on there, and we probably have been on there too with some of our cultural work as well. But we haven't seen her in many, many years, and it's great to know she's still active. In fact, doing a lot of work with enrolling people, getting people out for the vote. Definitely doing work getting the vote for the Democrats and getting people aware of local, state, and federal issues. So that's her, and of course, way, way back, and currently now, I need to introduce you to Sensei Tanaka. Tanaka Sensei, the master taiko drummer of our community, just launched hundreds of people into the culture of taiko drumming. And he is definitely, when he came to San Francisco decades ago and went to the Japanese festivals there, they go, what? How could this be a Japanese festival without taiko drums? I'm going to start some. And so he did. And so with a ragtag army of Asian American artists, they started the taiko phenomenon. The San Francisco Taiko Dojo was born. And out of that, many artists came out of that studying taiko, including my best buddy, Kenny Endo, who is now a master in his own right, and now living in Hawaii with the Pacific School of Taiko, along with his wife, Chizuko Nishimura. So with Sensei Tanaka, he was a mean tiger of a master. In fact, the legends are that not only do you have to do all these drills and drumming, but if you made a mistake, he not only would reprimand you with words, he would give you a bop with his bachi. That's these oak wood sticks that they hit the drums with. And he didn't count the sweat on your forehead as hard work. He'd look for the puddle at your feet to whether you're dripping enough hard labor. So Tanaka, since they turned 80 years older, this man, and so all the different generations of taiko drummers came forth. Now, to tell you the truth, I could have studied with him. I could have, because Kenny would study with him, and I were roommates. Hey, I'd just go to taiko lessons with him. But when I heard of those stories of being hit with the bachi and all that reprimanding, I was just too chicken shit to join up with that. So I watched from afar and ended up studying gagaku and getting involved with the Asian American Theater, which is how I met my dear Nancy Wong at the Asian American Theater, at the Avocado Kid theater piece that Rosalie and Kaala and Phil Gotana wrote. So that's how I met Nancy. So anyway, day off, meeting friends, the wonder and awe of people, and just so grateful for all the inspirations family and friends and community have been for Nancy and I. So that's kind of a report from afar, from this Motel 6 in Portland with Wi-Fi, thank goodness. And I'll be filming more, and you'll be hearing more about us. In a few days, I got to zip up to the Seattle airport, pick up Nancy, and then more adventures start for the summer. But that's all for now. yeah, if you have any questions, just write to us. All right. Oh, upcoming things to keep an eye on. Certainly, you must keep your eyes out for what's going on. Oh, well, we're archiving over 200 stories. But also we'll be, this is a long shot, we'll be doing a 2-day cultural institute as part of a diversity training up in Alaska. So we're bringing both Chinese and Filipino American culture to about 50 participants in this cultural arts workshop. So that's coming up in a few weeks. And then in a few months, this is the big one, out to Indonesia as part of the FEAST, that's the Federation of Asian American Storytellers of Indonesia. It's a learning conference. We'll be doing our workshop in History is No Mystery. And yes, we'll be citing examples from Red Altar, the Chinese American fishing village story. Also from New Pair of Wings, the story of my mother's Filipino immigration and her struggle with English language. It's a bilingual story that takes flight using the metaphor of butterflies. And then also Bittersweet, Nancy's excerpt from her longer story, Bittersweet, the Chinese American mother-daughter story. So, yeah, we'll be then also a few days later in November, part of that that Indonesian trip, we'll be performing in it's called Andong Dongeng Indonesian Storytelling Fest. So we'll be meeting many, many storytellers from the Asian world, from Korea and Singapore and Indonesia and India, in this wonderful swirl of the art of storytelling in the Asian world. So it's so great for us to connect from the bridge of Asian America across the Pacific, meeting our counterparts in Asia. So lots going on, coming up, and stay tuned. More to come.